So over the past 2 days, I have been playing through Hogwarts Legacy. I have geeked out so much that I just have to share some of my opinions on the game so far. Just a heads up, I am not actually too far in. I have spent an embarrassing amount of hours just walking around Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. The game has satisfied that Harry Potter geek in me that always wanted to know what was around the hallway scene in the films. So I have 5 points that I want to talk about specifically, but I will probably just add things in as we go along. The first thing I want to talk about is the plot itself, and to be honest, I won't really say too much. This is because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who has not played the game yet, and also because I have not really played a great deal myself. What I will say is that Hogwarts Legacy starts in the best way possible, and that is with the dragon attack. It was a great way to immediately capture my attention. During the attack, you and Professor Fig jump out of the carriage, and while falling end up grabbing a key that just so happens to be a portkey. You end up in a mysterious location and it is spectacular to look at. I will be honest, I may have spent way too long just looking around this area. Hogwarts Legacy does a great job at setting the atmosphere straight away. The section acts as a prologue and does an amazing job at making you feel captivated. During this opening section you explore the ruins and end up in Gringotts. This whole sequence feels magical and took me right back to the same feelings I had when playing the older Harry Potter games. From this point on I was hooked to the plot, but this is also where I stopped discussing it, as I don't want Tom Holland the game by accident.
Yo, that's dope.
One of the greatest strengths the plot has is that you don't feel rushed to complete the main quests. In fact, the game encourages you to explore. This is an area that many games have got wrong in the past, such as Fallout 4, where you feel like you have to rush through the story as your child has just been kidnapped.
Here, the Institute. I'll find my son no matter where he is.
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. Here's where they are.
As I said before, I am not too far into the game, so I do not have much else to say, but so far with each quest I complete, I feel more invested in the plot. The second thing I want to talk about is combat, and how terrible I am at it. Combat in this game is more difficult than I originally thought it would be, but that is just how I felt personally. This is not a bad point, and is actually a nice change to just button mashing, with the game instead focusing on combinations. I'll give you a rundown on the combat, in case you have not played the game or seen any footage from it yet.
Hey Jim, can I get a
Hi.
Hi. You need a rundown?
Hogwarts
Can you get
combat.
that to me?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
You first have your basic attack, which in other words is just your quick attack. It deals small amounts of damage but at a pretty rapid rate. You then have 4 spells to choose from. These can be swapped out throughout the game as you learn new spells. While in combat, the 4 spells can be combined with your basic attack to create some pretty good combinations that can deal large amounts of damage. This is an area I'm still trying to improve at. To add to this, each AI will have a different colour shield which indicates which spell you need to use in order to get through their defence. This adds another layer of difficulty that I really enjoyed. While in combat you also have the ability to deflect shots and counter. On PlayStation this can be done by pressing triangle or holding triangle. For me the wand combat is amazing and surprisingly challenging at times. You really do feel as if you are battling your foes in one-to-one combat, instead of the awful combat seen in past Harry Potter games. Overall, the combat is both challenging and rewarding, and is one of the best things about the game. The third point I want to talk about are the characters themselves. Throughout the game, players will meet a number of characters, all of which have interesting backstories that you will discover more about as the game goes on. Hogwarts Legacy does a great job at making me feel intrigued by their stories, and also intrigued to see how they will develop throughout the plot. You feel like you build natural friendships with these characters, instead of it feeling forced. What I mean by this is that you begin to learn more about them as you become closer friends. There are of course games that do this, but there are also plenty that fail to do this. Having character development really helps add to the immersion. I don't want to say too much as I want you to experience it for yourselves, but the characters you meet will play big roles throughout the game. The only minor issue here is that at times the facial animations can feel a bit wooden. It can sometimes take me out of the immersion, but most of the time it isn't that bad. Plus the acting is very good, and so it makes up for any shortcomings when it comes to facial animations. Each character seems to have their own personality, making them seem less like an NPC that will talk to you and instead makes them feel more real. An example of this can be seen when you meet each professor. Each one walks in a different way, and it really helps you to understand their backstories and personalities.
I am confident that we will take hold with the passion and rigor requisite of such a challenge.
As fifth years, you will be required to reach new heights of both discipline and intellect.
Professor Hecat!
Perhaps you'd be good enough to blast each other to pieces on your own time. I get new students every year, but I only have one Hebridean black skull.
It is these small details that really help add to the realism of each character. I personally really love each character in Hogwarts Legacy, and I can't wait to continue playing so I can discover where their stories go. My fourth point is on the locations in Hogwarts Legacy, in which I'm going to focus on Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, as they are the only places I have explored so far. Hogwarts Legacy does a lot right. One of, if not the best area they get right, is the ability the player has to explore. The developers encourage you to explore, and this is something that is missing with a lot of open world games. As I mentioned before, this has a lot to do with the fact that the plot doesn't seem to rush you in the same way that other games do. You can tell that the people who worked on this game have a passion for the wizarding world. It really does seem like a passion project. Hogwarts is full of life, there is always something going on. For example, listening to other students is really useful, as they can give you ideas on areas you should go and explore. You can also learn more about the world by listening to them. There are also a number of paintings that will talk to you or just interact with you whenever you are nearby, which is something I really love about the game. To add to this, there are a number of ghosts that you will come across that really help bring the game to life and can be quite amusing at times. There are some great moments you can find when exploring Hogwarts. All of these points mentioned seem like such small things, but it is the small things that make games feel more immersive. The level of detail that has gone into Hogwarts is outstanding, with there being plenty of puzzles to solve and items to collect. The score really helps add to the atmosphere. It is different to John Williams' score, but you can tell that they have taken inspiration from his work. This helps make the game feel familiar, but also different. Hogsmeade is just as immersive. There is so much to explore that I spent an hour or two just going around the shops and geeking out at every little detail added. I know I probably sound like the biggest geek right now, but it is really exciting to just explore these places. Both Hogsmeade and Hogwarts are magical in their own ways. I don't want to go too much into this, as part of the fun of Hogwarts Legacy is exploring these areas for yourselves. The last point I want to focus on are some of the things that disappointed me a little. Now, I don't want you to take what I say too seriously. Hogwarts Legacy is an amazing game with a lot to offer. I just thought it would be fair to bring up some of the things that did let me down a little bit. These are all my opinions, and so don't look too much into what I say during this section. The first thing is something I've already mentioned, and that is the character animations. Sometimes the characters look very emotionless, and as a result, this can sometimes take me out of the immersiveness, due to their characters looking a little robotic. As I said before, this is not a big deal for me, it just throws me off sometimes. The voice acting is great though, so it really doesn't affect the game too much. Another area I was slightly underwhelmed at was the grand staircase. I still like what they did in the end, opting for the staircase to appear as you get closer to the edge. However, I really wanted to see the moving staircases. I know it really isn't a big deal, but it did leave me a little underwhelmed. It is of course a small thing and is also just a personal opinion. To be honest, I feel a little bit bad for bringing it up. The last area that was slightly annoying was the small inventory. In a world full of magic, the fact that you have a small inventory can be a little annoying. You can upgrade the size of it, but you have to go out of your way to do it, which therefore takes you out of the immersion. As I said, it is a small gripe, but one I had to bring up. Overall, all of the things that I have mentioned here are very small things and really shouldn't be taken too seriously. Overall, Hogwarts Legacy has lived up to many people's expectations, including my own. Avalanche have done an amazing job, and I hope this is not the only Harry Potter game to come from them. You can see the passion that went into making the game, and this has really helped make the game feel more immersive. I may make a final video on Hogwarts Legacy once I have finished, but that might end up being a while away as I haven't even got close to completing the game yet. I am interested to know what your favourite things about Hogwarts Legacy are, and has it lived up to your expectations? Thank you so much for watching.